Alright, we'll try this again. Hello everybody. It's been a minute. Unless you watched my last video, then I guess it hasn't. But hello, welcome back. Welcome. One would probably think that I would do a first impressions or an unboxing whenever I got a new knife, as per the guidebook on Balisong YouTube stuff. But if you watched my last video, you'll probably understand why I didn't and haven't and can't. But it basically comes down to the fact that I couldn't. So I have had this thing for about almost 3 months now. I ordered it in December. As you can see, it is the LDY Orion V1.5 Christmas 2024 edition. It has the green anno with the red and gold splotches, which is really nice looking. Black snowflake blade, really cool. It looks really good. And I thought that I would throw my opinions out there, because I've been told that the only opinions that matter are your own, which, yeah. Anyway, so this is the Orion V1.5, after some time. So I've had, yeah. First we'll go over the specs. It is 70/75 aluminum handles, and insert or spacer right there. It is a 440C stainless steel blade, running on Zen pens, phosphorus bronze washers. But what's interesting is they actually send you extra hardware and stuff, as everybody knows, for LDY, if you've ordered from them before. They send you extra hardware, which is really cool. They 2 sets of screws and pivots. They also send extra Zen pins. There's also a Zen pin down here, so they send 4 extra Zen pins, which is really nice. And then they send a full set of washers, just one, but there's 4 that you get, but they're not phosphorus bronze, which these are. I don't know if you can see that. They're phosphorus bronze, but they send you stainless steel ones, which is pretty interesting and I think pretty cool. I believe they're stainless steel. They could be titanium. I think I've heard that somewhere, that they started using titanium washers. Don't quote me on that. But they send you not phosphorus bronze ones, which is pretty interesting, in my opinion. So, going into my opinions on the thing, I think this thing is swell. That's it. Video over. Obviously kidding. I do think this thing is good. It is actually surprisingly so. For I say cheap. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm pretty sure I've described that in a previous video. I don't mean cheap as in like quality-wise, but price point. From a cheaper price point, let's cover up some of the sand. From a cheaper price point of $90 for the live blade version, $75, I think, for the trainer. There's a certain level or a certain price point where you start to really expect good performance out of, versus like moderate to, you know, sort of low or terrible performance. And this kind of, for me, anyway, seems to break out of that somehow. It is $90, and it does not feel like that. It definitely feels a little bit more expensive than what it's being priced at. I'm pretty sure that's because of the way that it's like manufactured and shipped and whatever. But yeah, in my opinion, $90 for this thing is an absolute steal. I'll just put that out there right now. It's very impressive, very responsive, very comfortable, very well machined, and just very fun to flip. It's very smooth. All of the, you know, the scales, pieces, I don't know, this part of the sandwich, they are all rounded out, even like these, you know, the flats, they're slightly rounded so they're not sharp. These cutouts are really nice, fair amount of depth to them. The ano feels pretty good. I mean, the finish with the ano probably makes it a little bit more slippery than it would be if it were raw, but aluminum is pretty slippery anyway, but the ano doesn't help. But all of these designs, you can actually like feel them with your fingers. They're deep enough to do that, and the chamfers are really smooth. The transition between chamfer and, you know, rounding is really good. The jimping on this is probably some of my favorite that I've felt on an aluminum balisong. Granted, there's probably better, but this one is really intense, or like aggressive. It's very grippy whenever you're actually like using it. It's not very far apart, so they have a lot of, you know, grip within that small area. But that also is one of my complaints, is that it's very small. Like, it's the size of my thumb, so you got to really be quite accurate, or really do your like ladder stuff for whatever you're doing on the bottom with the jimping very accurately. It's like an inch of jimping. So personally, I would like a little bit more, although I'm used to stuff like the Prisma, or I mean the Kraken even though the jimping is not as intense, but it's just longer, so it gives you a little bit more room for error, which is always good. That's probably my one real complaint, is the jimping length. But counterpoint to that is it is sandwich, so you have all of this basically for your fingers to really dig into. So even though it's not jimping per se, you still get a fair bit of grip just from like the handle being completely hollow. It's about as much grip as you can possibly get. But, you know, I like my my tactile feel of jimping. It just feels good, and it feels a little bit more secure. I have a little bit more confidence whenever I can feel the jimping. But I know some people just don't really care, so I just thought I'd bring it up. Anyway, jimping good, jimping short. The way that this flips is very nice. I've said it, but so I'm gonna go into the length portion. It's a little bit of a short knife, handle-wise anyway. I don't know how the blade compares, but at the same time, I don't really compare the blades, to be fair. I do compare the handles, however, and I'm used to flipping something like this, the Prisma V2. And if anybody knows the Prisma, or most of Machine Wise's lineup, they're fairly long. So if I line up the pivots right this way, right about there, you can see it's about, I'd say like a 1/4 inch shorter than the Prisma Pro or Prisma V2 or whichever. I don't believe they changed between the V2 and the Pro. It's just different materials and stuff. But it's a little bit shorter than that, and you can definitely feel it. It feels like a shorter knife whenever you're actually like maneuvering it in your hands. However, it doesn't seem, to me anyway, to flip like a shorter knife, if that makes sense. As I just said, you can feel it being short, but it doesn't seem to affect the general way that you flip. I flipped various short knives, namely, and most recently, the Squid Hydro, and one of my main complaints with that is it just doesn't feel long, if that makes sense. There feels like there's a definite lack of like end weight. The balance doesn't seem quite right for me, but it may just be my preferences not being meant for the Hydro. But this thing actually, because of the pivot weights at the bottom, and the spacer being a little bit chunky, I guess, it has a fair amount of, you know, like ass weight behind the handles, so it carries a fair bit of momentum through all of the tricks. You're able to do a lot of stuff that, you know, might be a little bit more complicated with like momentum forward tricks. This thing is really good at technical stuff. If you're really into tech stuff, ew. I'm just kidding. But it's surprisingly good at it. I'm not like super crazy at it, but it's definitely stuff that I've been trying to pick up. And this thing has actually helped me a little bit with that. Just a little bit. And I think it's because the way that it just carries momentum. It's very consistent and predictable. I don't know. It doesn't quite flip like a short knife, I guess. Whatever that means. But other than that, it's a little bit handle bias, ever so slightly. It's fairly neutral, but you can definitely feel a little bit of a handle bias, or I can anyway. The tip weight seems to be good. There's like this belly up at the top of the blade, which helps balance it pretty good. Fans are flat. It kind of like rattles a little bit as you're bringing it around. Zero G's really nicely. Chaplains really nicely. You can get a pretty tight chaplains on this, which is quite surprising. But yeah, it's really good. I'm just gonna say it's pretty good in as many ways as possible, because it's especially good for $90. Like the price to performance ratio that you're getting with one of these is actually kind of crazy, and it has surprised me. Ever since I got it, I found myself flipping it more and more often, or at least not less and less often. Maybe I flip it just as much as the amount that I did whenever I got it, because it's genuinely just a little bit different. It's very unique when compared to the rest of my collection. Maybe it's because I don't really have any other sandwich battle songs, and yeah, I don't know. There's something special about it. It's very fun. It has its own specific way that it carries itself, which is pretty nice. Also, maintenance on this thing is a breeze. I dropped it in one of these sand pit things because there's a whole bunch of construction going on around my neighborhood, backyard area where I record, and I was starting this video a while ago. This is actually like my second or third time trying to do this video. Hopefully it works out. If it does, then you'll hear this. But yeah, the wind has been not super nice on my camera. I'm pretty sure I figured it out. You may be hearing wind, but at least the mic isn't completely cutting out and making like 30 seconds at a time unusable. Anyway, yeah, maintenance is a breeze. It's actually really nice. I have myself one of their screwdrivers, any screwdriver really. You just like take out the pivots, you know, you just disassemble it. I had to clean mine because, as I said, I dropped it in a fucking sand pit, which is not good. It was completely gummed up, not optimal for flipping. I cleaned it, put it back together, absolutely no issues. In fact, now it has a little bit more of a ring to it for some reason, which is really nice. I don't know if you can really hear that, but hopefully you could. Otherwise, it was just weird, awkward silence. Yeah, but it has a slight ring to it now that I have like properly cleaned it. Maybe it needed cleaned, but that's an interesting side product of it being clean, is it slightly rings, and I don't really know why. But it sounds good, flips good, feels good, seems to be made good. I've dropped this thing a couple of times. You can see like scratches here and there, and I'm kind of scratching up the bottom of the handles. I'm trying not to be too rough because I don't really want this ano and whatever this is called. I don't really know what that's called. It's not an ano. I don't want these to be like all roughed up and scuffed up, so I try and flip this more like inside or over like something that's softer than metal. So that it doesn't really get destroyed. I don't really keep like safe queens or anything like that, but I definitely try and not destroy most of my stuff. Yeah, so made good, and it sounds great. I really like the way this sounds. It definitely sounds more unique than most of anything else in my collection, and I'm pretty sure the reason why is the Zen pens seem to be slightly loose whenever you have it all together, even whenever it's like clamped down really tight and stuff. The Zen pens kind of, let me see if I can get it to work. You hear that? Yeah, they kind of rattle around in there, which is weird. I don't know if they should, but mine do. I got loose Zens. But it really adds a uniqueness to the sound, which is really nice. It doesn't sound like anything else that I have, and that's a nice little change of pace. It's always good to get something that doesn't sound like anything else. Yeah, but other than that, I don't really have much else to add. I've pretty much said everything that needs to be said. My opinions on it, it is good. I enjoy. Anyway, if you like this, then make sure to leave a like, or not, whatever. Subscribe. We're on the way to 40 billion subscribers, and you can't tell me otherwise. There's no proof, no evidence, and the police report has not been filed. So, without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.